What's going on, y'all? My name is Brian Waldron, and in this video, I'm essentially going to be breaking down exactly how we added an extra $15,000 a year to one of our clients to prove it's not luck. If you're new to the channel, my name is Brian Waldron. By the age of 26, I was able to do $3.5 million in event-based sales, and now we have the #1 event-based consulting program in the country, showing our clients how to find, fund, and fill their very own event space. Let's jump straight into it. So with this particular client, she had signed up for Event Space Elites, and it was really interesting because we were doing her venue walkthrough, and we had actually gotten a client to come in right then and there and actually sign up as a weekly recurring client. Now, for those who don't know what a weekly recurring client is, this is essentially somebody who's paying you every single week and you don't really have to do too much different for it, right? So this particular client was a church and they wanted to rent out her space for an additional $300 a week, which is about $1,200 a month and about $15,000 a year. So let's jump into it, right? Because this isn't something as a surprise. This isn't something new. When I was running BK Event Spaces back in Brooklyn, New York, we actually had 3 recurring clients doing the same thing. We had a church, a school, and a dance center all doing the same exact thing, right? So if you have an event space, I want to essentially break down how you can do the same exact thing and get these weekly recurring clients in your business to bring up that cash flow, and they can essentially pay your rent for you, right? #1 is know your avatar. So who are these types of people who would essentially be weekly recurring clients in your business? These are some examples. We have fitness centers or trainers, dance studios, churches, and schools. Now, I know the first thing you're probably wondering is like, wait, can't these people just go ahead and have their own facility or have their own commercial space or whatever the case may be? And you're absolutely right, they can. But a lot of times it takes a lot more work and a lot more money and a lot more energy to go ahead and get your own space as opposed to just subleasing, which is exactly what it's called, from somebody else, right? So for example, the churches that rented from us, they didn't have to go and sign a lease. They didn't have to go expose risk. They didn't have to go and get insurance and all this other stuff. They just paid us every week and we took care of the rest, right? They paid us every week, they cleaned up after themselves, and that was it, which I'll talk a little bit about in step 3. A lot of times fitness trainers, for example, if I just go through each one, fitness trainers, they don't want to have to go and get their own facility. They don't want to have to go and sign up and get a lease and all that good stuff or whatever the case may be. They'd rather just kind of roll out a couple yoga mats or whatever the case may be in a nice, beautiful commercial space and go about their business. Dance studios, a lot of times you'll see like after school programs or people who are trying to get their business up and running. They don't want to have to go ahead and get their own studio and have to fit it out, build it out, put the mirrors up or whatever the case may be. They'd rather just lease it from a commercial space and get it done that way. Churches, especially the ones that are growing their congregation, they don't want to have to go on and take a big overhead or whatever the case may be, have to go and get tables and chairs and all this stuff. They'd rather just sublease from an event space owner and get the job done that way. Schools are also another really easy one. There's a ton of after school programs and whatnot where they can go ahead and just, instead of them having to stay after school or have to deal with the dean or whatever the case may be, they'll just go ahead and rent from a commercial property owner, right? How do I get these different people, right? The #1 thing is volume. Now, I know you guys hear me talk about volume a lot, super simple concept, but essentially where we're gonna be getting these people is Google Maps. So one of the #1 things that I like to do is I'll actually go ahead and I'll type in church near me, fitness studio near me, dance studio near me on Google Maps, or I'll type in like church in Brooklyn, New York, church in Austin, Texas, church in Los Angeles, California. And then I'll essentially cold call every single one of these spaces and say something along the lines of, hey, my name is Brian. I just opened up a brand new event space on 123 Main Street. We're actually with about 10-15 minutes away from you guys. I know you guys are a growing organization, so if you ever needed additional space without having to take on the hassle or the pain of signing over a lease and getting a commercial property, whatever the case may be, we would love to work out a weekly retainer for you, something that makes sense for both of us. Super simple just to open up the door. And this is exactly how we were able to get every single one of our weekly recurring clients in our space, paying us $200, $300, $400 every single week to use our space, right? Another thing that I love to use that a lot of people don't talk about is something called Little Yellow Letters. Now, what is Little Yellow Letters? Little Yellow Letters is essentially a program where you can make like a postcard and then they'll send it out to every single address within a particular zip code. So if you are in, let's say, Brooklyn or whatever the case may be, and you want to go ahead and send every single commercial property or every single residential property, and this is great for leads too, for the event space, you can go ahead and have Little Yellow Letters create a postcard and they will send it out to every single address in that particular zip code. USPS Direct Mail does something similar just like that as well, right? #3 is boundaries and agreements. Right? Now, I know that sounds super cliche or whatever the case may be, but even though these people might be spending a couple $100, you 100% want to set boundaries in your property, okay? What do things like that look like, right? Things like the time, who's cleaning, who's setting up the furniture. This handwriting looks so bad, but it is what it is, right? Things just like that, the dates that they're coming in and using the property. Even though, like I mentioned, they're just using it for a couple hours or a couple days of the week or whatever the case may be, you 100% 100% want to set boundaries in your property to let them know when, where, if, how, or who is available and who's taking charge of these different things. Super simple agreement. This agreement is between BK Event Spaces and church of whatever the case may be. They will come in at these times on this dates, paying X amount of time, and they're gonna set up and clean. They're gonna use this furniture and they're gonna put it back at this time. Super simple stuff, but you just wanna make sure that everybody's on the same page so you don't wanna have any issues. Why? I can tell you, there's been a few times where before we had all these different things set up in place or whatever the case may be, that we would have an event at say 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and then the church would be over at 12 o'clock in the afternoon or 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and then we come back and there's chairs all over the place, they're not out at a certain time, and then it goes and messes us up for the event that has also paid up. You know what I'm saying? So you definitely want to make sure that these things are in writing so that if you ever do have to say terminate the agreement or whatever the case may be, it's because they know that they broke these certain infractions, right? Guys, my name is Brian Waldron. If you are interested in creating your own event space business, make sure you hit the link below. I've got a link where you can go ahead and apply to work with our program, Event Space Elites. And if you are a spontaneous gentleman or woman and wants to go ahead and get it done even faster, just ask about our premier offer where we can actually get your event space, get you in the event space in under 30 to 45 days. Let's get it, let's go.